Get everything set. So this is supposed to be copyright-free music, so let's hope. I guess we'll find out one way or another, right? Right. Let me see. Turn my volume down on that. And let's see. I'm just coming on real quick just to do a quick check-in. It's been a couple days since I have been, well, since before Christmas actually, since I have posted anything, uploaded anything. So much going on. I thought, silly me, I thought kids being off school, that I'm gonna have all this time, I do all this, and we have been just running absolutely crazy, trying to get in everything as possible. Christmas lights, Christmas at a family's house, trying to shop for one kid. When one kid's gone, shop for the other kid when he's gone. Craziness, it's real life, real world problems, stuff that everyone's dealing with. And gosh, at least I only have two kids. I look at some of these people. There's a lady in the store that was just completely stressed, and we were going through the Lego aisle, trying to find something they don't already have. And she had 5 kids, 5 more, and she's trying to get something so that they all get something equal. But yeah, it's all different, costs about the same. Nobody's fighting, but they're gonna fight anyway, right? So yeah. Oh, I know. Let me get this. Hey, Matthew, how's it going? Hey, Hunty. Oh, and there's my breaking news too. All my buds are here. Not all of them, but some of them. I'm just coming on, like I said, real quick to check in. I'm gonna come on later tonight. I dreamt of a really cool nail idea for Valentine's Day. So it's kind of I don't know what you call it. Call it like pop art or kind of the graffiti style. I'm really liking those nails. So yeah, I had a dream. And, I also have something really cool coming up for True Crime Tuesday. I always tell everybody that my whenever I go, um, most of the crime stories that I do for the crime podcast, I don't like seek out stories. I don't sit there and like go through. I Well, I do, but I'll pick something, and then all of a sudden something else just falls in my lap because it's connected to something else and something else. And so a lot of I love like the paranormal shows and stuff like that, ghost adventures, and oh, thanks, breaking news. Yeah, yeah. If anybody's in here that hasn't already, please hit that like, the thumbs up, and if you could hit the subscribe button for me. I'm trying to grow my channel, and little by little I'm getting there, but every little bit helps, and the more likes I get, the more talks people talking in here I get, and the more subscriptions I get, the more I get out in the algorithm and other people see me. So I much appreciate it if you have already done that. But back to True Crime Tuesday. So I was watching the newest episode of Ghost Adventures, and think about me what you want, but I think that show's hilarious. Um, I don't take I take that subject seriously, but I don't necessarily take guys from Ghost Adventures seriously. But anyway, this week's episode was about Zach Bagans. He has in Las Vegas a paranormal museum. And he's collected stuff from, you know, haunted dolls, this kind of like the Ed and Lorraine Museum too. Same concept. But he recently obtained some things from a from what I had never heard of this guy before. This is one of the most prolific serial killers in history. And his total count that he had admitted to was, I believe, 93. In Tuesday's video, I'll have a lot more, definite facts. But he was convicted of 8 of all of these and I believe he was. They tied him to 60 of these murders, um, and they called him the stroke and choke killer. Oh, um, but uh, so anyway, funny enough, we're watching that episode, and they bring up this man's name. And I thought, gosh, well, then the next thing earlier that day we had watched another show. We had watched it was trying to think, it was Overnight or Watchers. I cannot remember which one it was. Watchers are the BuzzFeed guys. That's Brian and Shane, I think his name is. And then uh, Overnight is the Elton Castile, Matt Rife, the comedian. They're the ones that just bought the Ed and Lorraine house. Well, anyway, I was watching an episode of theirs while I was doing some work, and it was about they were at Eastern State Reformatory, and they were talking about the story of J.D. Lockhart, who was a prisoner who was so distraught over being in prison. He was only like 22 years old. He stole some turpentine from the shop, poured it on himself and his mattress, grabbed his mattress, held himself up against the back of his cell, lit it on fire, and wouldn't let the guards in. And so there's lots of stories from the guys that were in cells around him and below him. Well, funny enough, as we're watching this episode, Zach happens to mention that this guy was housed in Ohio State Reformatory early on in his criminal career, and he was right below this J.D. Lockhart. So, so then when they mentioned that and everything, I started looking into him. I thought, so here, this story, it must need to be told, because as interested in serial killers as I am, and as many of them as I know, and I've at least heard their name, I had never heard of this guy. But when I saw his picture, those eyes, I remember I believe it was like in the 90s. And no, it was probably the 2000s, like 2015, 16. I'm going to have to look at the next again. He came up, he was finally caught for a lot of these things. So it was just craziness. So that's going to be Tuesday. But the first thing I was just going to come on and talk about, there's some new stuff coming out with that whole Rob Reiner case. And one of the things, the death certificates came out, and there's the time of death is recorded to a minute apart for him and his wife. And a lot of people are like trying to figure out what this means. I believe he was recorded at 15:45, which is like 3:45 p.m. and hers was recorded at 15:46. It's not the actual time that they died. I just went through this with my mom. It's when they were pronounced. So they could have died days before that, but it will say on their death certificate when the medical examiner pronounces them officially deceased. So that's what that is. So chances are, we've been hearing different rumors about they were in bed, they were this, they were that. And the daughter, she only reported seeing her father. So it sounds like she walked in, only saw him, ran back out, called authorities. And then when they walked in, they would have probably found him if they were in the bedroom. I was watching Brian Enton earlier, and one of the theories was, what if they were in bed and he went after Rob first because he's the bigger guy? And there's some reasons why he might have also gone after Rob first, to kind of neutralize him, because, who knows what's going on in his head, but he would have been most likely the bigger, stronger person that he had to fight against. So it could have just one of Brian Enton's guests mentioned, and I thought this made a really good point. If they were in bed, or if you walk in, many, I know I've heard this from a lot of people. I always thought it was funny because I never thought of this, but a lot of people, when they're in their bedrooms, the man's side of the bed faces the door. So he can be the first step in case there's any defending needed to be done of your home or it's kind of like having a woman walk on the inside of the sidewalk instead of the curbside, etc. Old gentlemanly, um, whatever. But so that's probably all that is that when the Emmy walked in, he found him first because he was maybe obvious first, first there. He pronounced him, walked over, she's feet from him, maybe she's a couple feet from him, walked over, pronounced her. And they have to look at their watches, and it has to be the exact moments that they pronounce them. So, this could have happened. I mean, when did they say that he rented the hotel room? This could have happened right before he rented the hotel room, and hours later when the daughter found them. So they didn't technically, cease to exist at 3:45 in the afternoon on Sunday, but that was when they were officially called no longer living. So, something that was brought up also was that at that party, that it was heard that Jake or Nick, excuse me, Nick, Jake is the other son, that he asked his father for money for a movie, and then his dad said no, and that caused a little bit of an argument. Um, my thinking is probably dad was probably already tense because of his behavior towards his colleagues and things like that. Um, they were arguing over that, and because it was stated from friends that Rob had said that his son had been having some troubles lately, had been, um, I don't know, I'm not sure if the word spiraling was a fact or just, it was a quote or if it was just on repeat from when whoever repeated it. But there was something wrong. There was a reason why they asked Conan if they could bring their son. I have my opinions on that, but something happened that day. But I don't think that day was the first day anything happened. The more we're finding out, um, it was found that in 2019 there was a call to the house from the police, and there was a charge of battery of family violence. Um, was that Nick and his dad in a fight? Was that him on drugs? Was that his mental illness showing through? Um, they talked about how many times he went to rehab. And again, Brian Enton's panel guest brought up something. She said, how many times were his stays in rehab? Possibly because he had gotten in trouble for something. I mean, we don't know his record yet. We don't know any of this yet. This is all going to come out at trial. And probably in the days to come, somebody's going to find these things. Somebody's going to FOIA them, yada, yada. Not me. I'm not paying for it. So, but, um, I do feel bad for this family. And I feel bad for him. It's something that one of the reasons why I'm so interested in serial killers is because, not that he's a serial killer, but just killers in general. Are they created or are they born? You know, was it a combination of both? This guy had mental illness issues from a very young age, is what it sounds like. There were several reports of Rob using bear hug holds when he would start to get out of control. This was reported by lots of family friends that were literally stating they were at their home when this happened. And, I know that can be one of the things that they tell you to do when you do have a child that has a mental disorder that would cause them to freak out. Again, I know I'm on repeat with this, but my oldest son has autism. And when he was younger, he would have meltdowns. He wasn't mature enough to always make sure that he was being safe when he was having a meltdown. And so, safe for himself and safe for us. And so, I learned how to do what's called safe holds, which are ways that I could hold him up against me and keep him so that he didn't, you know, flail around and bang his head on the floor or on a wall, or so that he didn't accidentally headbutt me, or so he didn't get up and throw something because when they're younger that they don't have many outlets. It's and thank goodness he's older, he's grown, he doesn't do anything like that anymore. We got very lucky. We had great doctors, great therapists, great people at school, support systems that helped all of that. So if you are dealing with that, know that if you get your kids help early, this whole cure it with love thing, it doesn't work. You cannot cure a brain that doesn't process the world around them the same as a neurotypical person. You can't do it. There's no way. You can't reason with it. You have to learn to cope with it. You have to learn. Some people can have medication, some not. Um, and they were talking about one of the things is that, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but that he had been on some new psychiatric medications, and that they believe that he was having issues with that. Oh, and it is. And, I understand that myself. I mean, breaking news, and I joke around about being neurospicy. I mean, I am teetering on that line of spectrum. And I think that's why it's so easy for me to understand my son, is because I do understand when the way that you think is not necessarily the way everyone else thinks or the way you see things. Um, Now, with schizophrenia, like we're talking with Nick, it's literally he's not seeing the world around him as is the rest of us. Now, when they're talking about his issues at like age 11 and 12, that's before he had a substance abuse problem. Yeah, see, I was the same way. I was 20 when I was diagnosed. And I came from the culture of, pills, 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 pills. So nobody believed you. And my mom was a teacher. And she thought, oh no, we're not getting on that bandwagon. And so it took me going when I was older saying, hey, I can't I can't think straight. I can't function. I'm having these issues that, it was taken care of. I mean, it's still a battle. Still a battle. And but also people on the spectrum are a lot of times more likely, well, people just with any mental disorder or neurodivergence are more likely to be on some kind of substance, whether it be from a doctor or it be that they're self-medicating themselves because they haven't been diagnosed and they just simply, are trying to make themselves feel better in the wrong way, in a destructive way, but still. Um, and I mean, this is going to be the big question. Was this because of drugs? Was this because of mental illness? Was this which which thing exacerbated the other? Was it both? Um, and another thing, uh, again, the panel guest brought up how many times was he violent and the police weren't called? How many times do we have issues with our kids or our family members and we just deal with it? And we're not, I mean, you know, not everybody calls the police all the time, especially someone who's famous who doesn't want it. Because with the police come the paparazzi, come the newspaper articles, all that. And this is their kid. I mean, and I don't care what you say. You can't tell me when you see the life that he lived and the things they did. He was spoiled, okay? He was. And I'm not saying that if I didn't have that much money and that lifestyle, I wouldn't spoil my kid either. But is that part of this too? That they didn't get him the help that he needed. They just kept giving in to him, giving love, love. We're gonna fix this with love, and it doesn't work. And then now, when he is now at an age where they can't control him, they've created this monster because they didn't get him the help that he needed. Kept going into these expensive. The last rehab they said was $70,000. My dad was a drug and alcohol abuse therapist, and one of the things he always said was he had lots of patients that came in, lots of clients that came in that had been at these expensive rehab centers, but yet here they were still. They had relapsed. They were worse off than they were. And part of it was because more focus was on the environment than was the disease of addiction. And on finding out if this person had mental disease. You get rid of the you get rid of the substance first. They have to get clean from that. And then you say, okay. But it doesn't sound like he was clean. Not especially not when they found him. He was walking around oblivious. And it's gonna be interesting what happens with this, what comes out. He's got this Alan Jackson lawyer who is what we saw in Karen Reed trial. He loves to fight his battles in the courthouse steps. So there's going to be lots and lots of stories, lots and lots of this and that. Um, that's going to be interesting. It has been found that yes, his family is paying for that lawyer because he's an expensive lawyer. Um, Now, a lot of people think that's wrong, that they're sticking up for him. I've not heard any of them stick up for him at all. I've only heard statements basically from his sister who found her father stating that she had been worried, afraid of him. He had been volatile for a while. Um, you know, Maybe it's not so much about getting him off, but it's getting him somewhere where he cannot hurt anyone else again. Maybe it's finally about getting him the help. Um, there's lots of families that the brothers and sisters are begging, mom and dad, something's wrong, it's not right, and it's just, oh, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with that. So I'm going to try not to jump to any conclusions yet because it's still really new, really fresh. And as we've seen from a lot of these murder trials, it's going to be years probably before we see him or know or see him in a trial setting. Um, but no, you just wonder: has he ever been held accountable for these things, or has he done something and then gotten shipped off to a rehab, and not necessarily rehab that was making him really be accountable, um, a rehab that maybe was more about, oh, it's okay, and holding hands, and you stay here for 30 days until the smoke clears, heat wears off. Now you can tell everybody you went to rehab. You're a better person. Everybody's happy. You're good. You know, I just don't know. It's going to be, it obviously didn't help. I mean, my biggest question with all of that, though, is this is my final question on that, is that me as a parent, excuse me as a parent, if my kid was showing that he was upset, that he was uncomfortable, if I thought that there's all these rumors circulating that they didn't want to leave him home because they thought that he was going to get up. They didn't want to leave him home because he was acting volatile and he was having issues with these meds and they knew it. And they were worried about his safety. Okay. But this was a Hollywood party. Okay. And I mean, people in my generation know who Rob Reiner is. Okay, great. Michelle Reiner. That's great. But Why go? Why go? Why bring him? I just wonder if that was like if he was already kind of in one of those funks, and whatever happened at that party was just really got him, just because if anyone knows anyone that has been on math or anything like that knows they're not always the nicest people to deal with. They're not, they can be very violent, they can be very angry. And I don't know. I just if that were me, I think that we would have called Conan and been like, you know what, hey Conan, listen, my kid's not in a good place right now. And I think it's best if we stay home tonight. Or you know what? Lie. If you're embarrassed and you don't want anyone to know something's going on with your kid, taking them to a big swanky Hollywood Christmas party probably isn't the best idea, but just say, hey, I'm not feeling well. The wife's got a headache, okay? And just go on with your stuff. You don't, to me, that's that kind of old Hollywood attitude that was more important. And maybe he felt that same way too. Maybe he felt like your party is more important than me and what's going on with me right now. Saw a similar theme in the Oxford shooter case. This kid was torturing animals. He had lost his dog, his grandfather, and his best friend, like in the same 2 week span. Um, there was a party in town, and it was a party that he and his best friend and his parents were supposed to go to. Well, the best friend was put in a mental institution actually the night before this party because he was having mental issues. Both of these boys were. And his parents took him, and it was this is from Oxford, Michigan, drove him to, I think, was Chicago. So he was far away from all of this place, everything. And they went to a Halloween party and left their depressed kid at home. I don't know. I just don't get that. I think sometimes you just got to give that stuff up. Um, but so that's going to be interesting what comes up with all of that. Now, that just popped up. But when I was writing my notes for that, something else popped up. And I don't know if any of you guys watch. Actually, first, let me find this. This was the first little bit of scariness that I saw. There we go. Okay. Now, this popped up today when we were out to lunch. So Epstein files are out right now. Everything's crazy. And this just caught my eye. It says Epstein met his first known victim at a northern Michigan arts camp. Department of Justice files show. DOJ documents claim that Epstein met the 13-year-old victim in Michigan in 1994 and later brought her to Mar-a-Lago to meet Donald J. Trump. Whether or not that's true, who knows? Now, there's a school on a campus called Interlochen, and a lot of kids all around the United States come there. I had a lot of friends. I live in Michigan, but I had a lot of friends that would go there for music. They went there for orchestra and band during the summer. And some went for drama and things like that too, I believe. But anyway, Interlochen, Michigan. Documents related to the notorious pedophile and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein revealed that he met his first known victim at a performing arts camp in northern Michigan. Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice published thousands of files related to Jeffrey Epstein, including a court document with details about Epstein's first known victim, a teen girl he met in 1994. Court documents released details Epstein's relationship with his first known victim, a 13-year-old girl who was spending the summer at Interlochen Arts Camp in Interlochen, Michigan. Epstein had ties to Interlochen Arts Camp dating back to when he was a camper there in the summer of 1967. Epstein also contributed to the school between 1990 and 2003 and sponsored a visitor's cabin on campus, which bore his name until 2007. Oh my gosh. When the school cut ties with him, the last time Epstein stayed at the camp was in 2000. A complaint for damages against Epstein's estate and Ghislaine Maxwell details a long grooming period after the two met the victim in the summer of 94. The victim was a student in the camp's voice program and met Epstein and Maxwell in between classes one day when they approached her on a bench. Epstein bragged to her about being a patron of the arts and giving scholarships to talented young artists like her. Epstein and Maxwell probed her at length about her background, family situation, and where she lived. The document reads the victim then gave Epstein the phone number of her mother in Florida after Epstein asked her for it. After the victim returned to Florida from Michigan, it's alleged that Epstein brought the victim and her mother to his Palm Beach mansion and spoke about how he mentors young kids and provides scholarships for the arts. Documents allege that Epstein and Maxwell attempted to groom and mentor the 13-year-old victim over the next several months. They took her to movies, went shopping with her, and lounged around Epstein's estate with her. Epstein and Maxwell then started to make sexual references when they were with her. The document reads, also, after nearly every visit with Epstein and Maxwell, Epstein sent Doe home with two or three $100 bills to give her mother since she was having a hard time and struggling as a widow. It was alleged that Epstein began paying for the victim's voice lessons, and when she would show any sort of pushback in the arrangement, Epstein and Maxwell would call her ungrateful. The 10-page court document then details how Epstein brought the victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet Donald Trump when she was 14 years old. The document claims that Epstein elbowed Trump and told him, "This is a good one, right?" The document then said that Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. Beginning in late 1994, the allegations of abuse by Epstein escalated over the next several years and included allegations that the victim had been digitally penetrated. Forced to watch Epstein view himself, and eventually barred on multiple occasions, beginning when she was 17. In 1996, Epstein is alleged to have moved the victim and her mother to New York City, paying for their apartment and enrolling the victim in a good school. It was in New York that the first allegations of R were made by the victim against Epstein. So it was 2025, 1996. In 99, the victim moved to Los Angeles and stopped returning Epstein's calls. Her lawsuit against Epstein's estate and Maxwell seeks damages for the years of abuse and exploitation perpetrated against her by them, which caused her immeasurable pain and suffering every day. That's it on that one. So, now my last one before I go is um, let's see. Get rid of that. Oh, so again, I like watching reality shows. And another one that we watch is called Blind Frog Ranch. And I got into it um let's see, this one? Yeah. Okay. Um I got into this show during COVID, and this popped up today too, and I was like just so Chad Olinger, former Discovery Channel reality star charged with open murder. Now, this is the thing. They just had their fifth season. We were watching it, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And what this is Blind Frog Ranch. It's out in the Uinta Basin in Utah. It's actually not far from Skinwalker Ranch. Um, and his father, Dwayne, bought it years ago and is looking for Aztec gold. There's supposed to be Aztec treasure buried in a cave system somewhere on this property. And so, kind of like that, Curse of Oak Island meets Skinwalker Ranch, because there's all these really weird things that are going on and happening. But as they go through, they're hunting treasure. They're finding all of these really neat, um, just historical occurrences, things like that. Well, I guess Chad Olinger, a former reality star on Blind Frog Ranch, has been charged with open murder. According to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, authorities at the Clark County Detention Center found a man lying motionless inside his cell on Friday. Officers made entry and observed the inmate was suffering from apparent blunt force injuries. A Vegas police press release stated investigators later discovered that Olinger, 41, and cellmate got into an altercation. The unidentified victim was pronounced dead at the scene. According to News 10, Channel 10, police in Texas arrested Olinger after in Amarillo in November 2024 after he ran a red light and evaded arrest. All I know is this one thing, Olinger previously told TMZ. It was a hell of a ride until I got off that Harley Crossbow. After posting bond, police near Pampa, Texas, arrested Olinger for driving 10% or more over the limit and driving with an invalid license, while having previous convictions. Then in October, police arrested Olinger on a contempt of court charge. A Potter County grand jury indicted him in January. The judge sentenced on the contempt charge in December, with a scheduled release for January 2026. Meanwhile, People magazine reports that Olinger's father, Dwayne Olinger, owns the Blind Frog Ranch in Utah. Yeah, we know that. The murder investigation is ongoing. So yeah, apparently they found him. Um, they found him. They found his cellmate beaten to death in his cell, and now Olinger is accused of committing this crime. Just want to look at this and see if there's anything more. This is his wife. I know that they kind of quit all their jobs. They had a crop dusting company they sold and started living in a bus out near the property, homeschooling their kids. Um, this is Olinger Jr., which is Chad, is also connected to the Texas Panhandle and puts everything into a wildcat gold mining opportunity in Uinta Basin, Utah, according to his profile on Discovery website. During the past interview with TV Insider, Olinger revealed that appearing in the docuseries and dealing with mysteries on their family ranch cost him his personal life. So that's that. Oh, I never added it to stage, but oh well, it's just words. Um, but yeah, so uh, that's it for right now. I just wanted to catch you guys up on that stuff. Um, and let you know that I will be on sometime later tonight because, like I've said, my schedule's all messed up. But I've got this really cool idea. They're more of a Valentine theme nail, and I will also be searching for some cool New Year's Eve themed nails so that I can do some of those. We'll be doing those on sets. A lot easier for me. But I got a really cool new light that goes over a phone holder that's supposed to. Yeah, I lost the entire thing of color, so that was interesting. But the phone sits right up on it, so you can literally look right down on my nails like this. So it'll be easier for people to see. Hopefully, it'll be better light because I've got this old fluorescent light above me, but it doesn't really kind of. I don't know. It has like a weird like tone to it. And I got my little ring light right here, everything. But my lighting is so hard. And everybody keeps telling me they want bright and they want brighter, especially when I'm doing the nails. I don't really feel like it's showing the true colors of what I'm doing if I don't have the right lighting. So yeah. So before I leave, those are the newest updates and some of the cases. We're probably some new cases too that I thought that was interesting about the Blank Bread Ranch guy, and that might be why the series all of a sudden stopped because if he got put in prison, then chances are I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're going to film Discovery Channel in prison. You never know though. But all right, everybody, have a great day. And if you haven't yet, if you're just coming in, please hit that like button, the thumbs up button for me, and the subscribe button. I'm still trying to build my channel slowly but surely, and I'm trying to do mostly we are nails and true crime here, but I have ADHD and I can't keep on track. So we do a little bit of everything around here. So if you like a little bit of everything, just pop on by. And if you're interested in any of the stuff we talked about at the beginning, Epstein, Olanders, all that, give me a watch on the replay. So, all right, everybody have a great night. If I don't see you later, but I will try my hardest because I really want to get these nails out. So look for me later. Goodbye, guys. Peace, love, and claws.